Thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast Still. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has revealed before the House of Representatives, service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police that some recently arrested Boko Haram terrorists in the Northeast planned attacks from the prison in connivance with the warders. And he decried the corrupt attitudes of some of these warders in the Northeast, alleging that they aid arrested Boko Haram terrorists in planning their operations. He also mentioned that about 73 unmanned forests had been taken over by bandits as he called for the extradition of Simon Ekpa, the self-acclaimed leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, from his operational base in Finland. Just before we bring up discussions, let's give you some more details about these latest revelations.
Correctional facilities.
It's a remark the Nigerian Correctional Service has yet to deny.
When we were debriefing some of the arrested Boko Haram elements, so they were telling us how from the prisons they could plan operations out in the field. From the prisons, they plan operations. They pass funds across, and we said how. They use some of the warders from there. We don't say all of them are bad, but they use some of them. They use their accounts to transfer money. And the deal is anybody's account who money is transferred to, they share 50-50.
This brings the spotlight on the prison service, whose overstretched facilities hold a population of 80,659 inmates. 25,670 are convicted inmates, while 54,989 are awaiting trial. Until the attack on July the 5th, 2022, the Kuje Custodial Center had 64 Boko Haram terrorists among its inmates.
Leave you vulnerable.
This intelligence management expert agrees with the Chief of Defense Staff's position.
When we are looking at the vulnerabilities within our correctional centers, that's one fact that is glaring. You recall that in the last few years, we've had several instances of either break-ins or security challenges within our correctional centers. And one of the reasons that that happened is because of the complicity of some officials within the correctional system.
If you look at where we have the correctional facilities, they've all been occupied now. The Kuje facility, you have a school sharing wall with the prison yard. In Ibadan, the marketplace is where Agodi is where you pass to go to.
Recently, the Minister of Interior, whose ministry oversees the Nigerian Correctional Service, began a process to decongest prisons with the payment of fines for inmates who were sentenced with the option of fine. While that process is on, experts like Mr. Adamu say the reform should also cover personnel of the service. Sifon Esien, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, so there you have it, just trying to provide some more context to this war against insecurity financing, terrorism financing, and the likes. Let's bring some fresh perspectives now to these controversies. Joining us in the studio is Commodore Ayuba. Thank you very much for joining us. We also have joining us via Zoom from Texas, a security consultant, Roy Ohideve. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll get back to you in a moment, but Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired, who is also an international security risk management consultant, is here with us in the studio. Gentlemen, you are both welcome to these conversations on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for
Thanks
having me.
again. So let's start off with you. What do you make of these revelations? How much of a startling revelation would you call it?
Well, thank you, Kami. The CDS's revelation is quite incisive, coming from the apex of military management in Nigeria. It also reveals the fact that what he has come up with it came out from the bottom of his heart, probably out of the mounting frustrations that management of security issues in Nigeria have brought forth to confront their particular administration of the armed forces security. And truly, excuse me, truly we will find out that the armed forces have been going through a lot of challenges within the framework of managing security in Nigeria, and also the issue of conspiracy between warders, prisoners, and even sometimes with military officers and soldiers have been a continuous occurrence in our security management system. For the CDS to come out to say this before the House of Representatives, I think it meant that there was need for everyone to go back to the drawing board and also begin to take a holistic look at how we are going to rejig the security architecture. It's been a long time coming. We've been having all forms of reforms, but it has come to fore now that security is a whole of society issue, and that every Nigerian has a role to play in it. So we need to now go back to the drawing board and get things sorted out right away.
Okay, so my concern is, he said it at the floor of the National Assembly in front of the members of the House of Reps. But doesn't this jeopardize our security architecture? What does this say about the synchronism or the coming together of the security experts here? I will use that word, because we're supposed to have these people work together to ensure that our security system, our prisons are okay, and our prisons are actually correctional centers. But we're seeing a situation whereby this has happened, and he has come out to say it. Shouldn't he have at least maybe sent a memo to the minister, or have a discussion with other members of the security architecture to stem this tide, since he knows that they have intelligence or they have confessional statements from known terrorists that they pass money through warders?
Yes, thank you very much, Theophilus. The issue at stake is the roundtable between the military leaders and the House of Reps.
Lawmakers.
And the lawmakers in general. And you will see that almost every assembly have this engagement with past service chief, and including the current ones as well. So what he has come to say is that, look, we are doing our best, but there are issues that needs to be tackled. Yeah, I understand where you are coming from when you say those will have been done naturally. Okay. But speaking truth to power is one of the things that had been lacking in our management of our security system. Because when you tell the truth, everybody sees it as it is, then it brings forth a compulsion to resolve some of these problems. It's been endemic and is destroying the system gradually, because it's worrisome. All the jailbreaks look synchronized, look syndicated, look organized. And of course, when you begin to find feedbacks that there's some kind of handshake between those who are supposed to keep the so-called correctional facilities and suspects, or indeed criminals who are going through correction, it's very indicting, and it also suggests that there's a need for total overhaul of these outfits. One, there's need to take a new look at how the entire security architecture is being managed, because if you look at correctional facilities and all that, immigrations, and they're under different leaderships. So, and of course, all these people supposed to come under the ambit of the management of the National Security Advisor. True. And then, of course, some of them too up to have the responsibilities to their ministers. Ministry of Internal Affairs, for instance. Customs is neither in finance or neither in... So, and meanwhile, they are taking charge of the borders. So they are not really seeing themselves as security providers, rather they are collectors. However, what they do at the borders also affects the national security.
But
and those borders, and those borders, still fill us in a moment, please. Before we come back to retired Commodore Ayuba, let's quickly get the thoughts of Ambassador Roy. Thank you for joining us, and thank you very much for holding on. Having heard your colleague, so to speak, here in the studio, what are your thoughts first on this latest revelation? And when you look back at past jailbreaks and the possibilities that perhaps there could have been an insider connivance, so to speak, what are your thoughts about these allegations of prison warders working with these terrorism suspects in detention?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, and with all due respect to my boss there in the studio, sir. Let me say this, that we are on a very long journey. We are on a very long journey because all of these things have come up a lot of times, and all agencies are complicit in these kinds of compromise. We remember that even the military has been found to give weapons to terrorist groups. We remember also that drug cartels penetrate our prisons to sell drugs to them. And they use these officers that are prison custodians. And we also know that we have a financial system in the country. There's one of my staff, there was a time we paid 200,000 mistakenly to the staff account, whose salary was about 80,000, and the account was blocked because the money was higher than what usually comes in. So I was just of the opinion that what happens to the financial system that could track excessive inflow of money to particular accounts that does not reach that volume of inflow. And I'm also looking at the NDLEA. What is their investigative system into the prison and the correctional centers? How do they recommend solutions? You remember the conflict between the NDLEA and the police for the last officer that was arrested and is facing interrogation right now. So I am concerned that the system has not used the available apparatus to interrogate the vulnerability, because definitely there are apparatus to investigate such vulnerabilities. Then the purpose of the whole of the complaint, open complaint by the CDS, is because the rule of law has not been explicit. We still have Abakari case still running. We still have some other military people's cases still running. And this kind of prisons personnel, if the CDS should go and arrest them, it will become an uproar. If the CDS must have written, which I am sure, as my boss there have said, he has written, and actions are delayed, they crawl like a snail. And the penalties for such compromise supposed to be swift and supposed to be strong enough to serve as a deterrence to others. So I don't know the electronic system in the prisons. If there are electronic systems there, there must be an outlet in the Minister of Interior's office to be able to turn that place to a smart city, so that you can be able to monitor what's going on. I don't know what NCC is doing, our communication systems, to check what they call and to know that there are wordings that will spike up attention when you make some phone calls within those premises. So I don't know, there are so many other things that could happen there that could serve as deterrence. But for those that have been caught, like the CDS have said, what is the judiciary going to do about it?
Okay, Roy, my question from what you have said, you have actually opened up a whole gamut of this revelation. Now, looking at everything that has been said, The Minister of Interior has asked the management of the Nigeria Correctional Service to probe these allegations that some of its personnel are in cahoots with Boko Haram suspects. Do you think anything will come out of this, knowing fully well that we've had several investigations in the past, and you understand what I'm talking about?
You know, you don't even need to say it. Definitely nothing will come out of it. Highest, one or two will be arrested. Now, let me tell you about investigation, because recently the police approved that people can run school of private investigation and people can go into investigation, but the police, the hierarchy of the police is still doing the bottom line, the framework for that to happen. So I have also floated a school of investigation for that. So in investigation, one of the things that will be done will be definitely to check that guy's account. And once that audit is done, you will see that there are exits of monies into different kinds of accounts, like what is going on with the former CBN governor right now. And persons will be found out to be complicit as chain beneficiaries to the crime. And when you hit a name among those chain beneficiaries, that is where the investigation will die. Because Nigeria is so challenged with this name and capacity. Some people have the name capacity to oppress the judiciary and to deter investigation from making them complicit. So when you begin to call names and find names that are connected to a crime, that crime dies immediately.
Let's come back to the studio now. So what do you make of this? What would be your expectations now that the ministry in charge has, promised Nigerians of robust investigation? Do you share Roy's, analysis that maybe not much may come out of it, or how can they just make this different from previous investigations?
Oh, well, I want to align with Royce's opinion, because it's been a constant phenomenon in our system that when issues like this occur, a lot of noise is made around it. And after a week or two, perhaps 3 months, the whole thing dies off. And look at the Kuje break. Nobody has read any comprehensive report. Nobody has been fired. And when it moves us to the domain of impunity, which also impinges around the justice system in the country. And when criminals are arrested and they are not punished, or the military makes so much effort to get all these terrorists, bunkerers, all of them, rein them in, only to see them on the streets. And I think the CDS also alluded to that.
Absolutely, he did.
Because these are experiences that we had while I was in some of the task forces, especially the maritime task forces down south. You arrest people for obvious crimes of bunkering, oil theft, and when we are mandated as a Navy to hand them over to, we are non-prosecutory agencies. Absolutely. When you arrest, you turn them in to either civil defense, DSS, or police. Surprisingly, you see these people on the streets. Sometimes they power down their glasses and wave you. And the next time it could be a machine gun firing at you in reprisal for. So these things are frustrating. And also, if you go down to the maritime aspect, this is what informed the destruction in situ of vessels. You burn them there so that they can't have opportunity to rename themselves and repeat such exercises. It's debatable. But honestly, the judicial system have to rejig itself, and also there's need for special courts to try all these. You don't keep them in regular jails. If you look at how the U.S. managed their own terrorism beyond 9/11, you will see that they chose places like Guantanamo Bay, a place far removed from civilization in quote, where you can actually deal with issues The trial courts will be there in the prisons so that we dispense of justice, because justice delayed is justice denied. And these people are empowered by the idea that they know that when you reign them in maximum, their godfathers and their sponsors will come for them and free them on the streets. It's sad. There's need for action on this.
I want you to talk more on the fact that prisons are in close proximity to different localities. Like you mentioned, Agodi in Ibadan is within the market, and we have the prisons in Lagos as well, within living areas, yes, residential areas. And it's not just in Lagos and Ibadan, other states as well. Do we have the facilities, or do we have the impetus to move these prisons outside localities like that?
Well, that calls for a new thinking, strategic plan, because when those prisons were built, those places were virtually out of town. Take Kirikiri, for example. So quite 20, 25 years ago, Kirikiri was a no-go area. It was a swampland. In fact, you dare not go there. But look at Kirikiri today, it's virtually surrounded by, just as an example, Agodi was probably like that.
Yes.
And then Kuje. So it speaks about overpopulation, growing population, our demographic pattern of movement, and then the need. Even most of the military barracks that people are clamoring to leave the town now were in the bushes in those days. So we must continue to review our security system and take our priorities, because a lot of money has been thrown into this security management. And of course, it's like throwing money into the ocean. And there's need for new thinking in management of our correction centers. We can rebuild and move them away. And other countries take options of introducing private holding facilities.
Okay.
And some even have 5 VIP prison facilities for those who can pay for it, who can afford it. So we should begin to look away from government micromanaging every little detail. Also, some can be outsourced for those who are more competent to manage them. And then, of course, the government will continue to provide the legislation, the empowerment, the policies, while those who have capacity, regulating, exactly. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So let's put you on hold and, get back to Roy Ohideve, who is standing by, for more. Well, retired Commodore Ayuba has also shared the worries about also expressed by the CDS, Musa, who said that the judiciary is basically not helping the war against terrorism, especially when it comes to prosecution and all that. Seized items find their way back into the system, and then these suspects end up getting free on bail or through other means. Is the judiciary really to blame? And this suggestion about the special courts to tackle, terrorism-related cases, which has also been, suggested by a retired Commodore here. Do you also buy that, or how do we go past these hurdles?
I think the judiciary too, they are also experiencing this kind of cloudiness in their own quagmire. If you remember, just recently there was a video released of the former NBA chief that was speaking from an international event, and he was telling them that there's judicial capture in Nigeria, and I listened to that program, and I was so heartbroken. If the judiciary is crying that there is judicial capture, then there is a problem. I don't want to go into politics. I like to stay on security, because it has been a deviance that have deteriorated our opportunities to secure ourselves. And if you look at the outgoing one justice that just retired recently, I don't want to call their names, you can Google all of these things. He also, on his outgoing speech, also lamented deeply that the judiciary is handicapped and it is from within. But if you look at the judiciary that is handicapped, I will not want to fall by that. I want to say that the correctional center, the type of people that are employed there is faulty. You know, look, I have opportunity to note and build curriculum for some of these people. I have just partnered with the Ministry of Police Affairs before the election, and we went around the country talking to very senior police officers. And you will see that the recruitment system of our agencies today is a far cry from the expectation of the deliverables of those agency personnel. How will somebody just give the Ministry of Interior 200 names and say, please, these are my people? And you go screen those guys, you see that they are not even up to par, you know, and these are the people that will come into the system, and you expect to see swift running projects. Now, if you also look at the correctional center himself, I would not even recommend that we just quickly go and start building. We should look at the cost of relocating those people that came to live around the correctional center. Who gave you those lands that you came to build your house? We have seen FCT breaking down people's houses that are on drainage system, unauthorized plot of land, commercial area, you build a residential house, it becomes a problem. Why are we not talking about buildings that are sprout up around barracks, around correctional centers? We should correct that by
Roy,
the minister.
My concern with that now is, do we have the political will to do that?
Yes, I will look at political will, and I want to paint political will with security interest. Now, if you look at political will and security interest, you will agree with me that for you to politically become relevant, you must put in security measures that will contain the vulnerabilities that stare the citizens in the eye. Now, the Minister of Interior has come in and he has started working on passports, started working on so many other things, and he has been spitting fire. I love that. But can we see an interpretation in the realities on the ground? Can he carry the dragons of disparity and break their necks? So if we look at political will, the president has said all the ministers should go and run. And if they don't meet their targets, they must resign or he will pull them out. So as a minister, I will definitely tell everyone, please give me space, let me work.
But won't it be cheaper to just move the prison's outskirts rather than relocate the people? For instance, if you go to a state like Edo State in Benin City, I'm sure you've gone there, the prison is just at the epicenter, just in front of the press center and other areas in the GRA. How do you intend to move people within those vicinities out? Won't it be better to just move the prisons?
This my Oga in the studio there, he has given you a small clue. Why don't you make those prisons in those areas? Why don't you make them the VIP prisons or whatever? Do you know what it costs Nigeria to form a committee to go and build a road, to build a school, renovation of schools? My primary school in Edo State, Victory Primary School, government was supposed to renovate. It is we, the alumni, that we are renovating it. You know, so if you want to build prison today, it will take another 10 years, you know? So why not say, okay, you want to cascade the prison content and say, this is not a maximum prison. It is for certain cases that are lighter than severe criminal cases. But you cannot just come out and say, we want to build more prisons. You are going for a 10-year run, and so many people will divert the funds.
All right. Well, this is a really worrisome issue, especially at a time when even these correctional centers are badly overcrowded, and you know, so it's all, you know, part of the problem, you know, so to speak, and even the issue of unmanned forests, which has also been, you know, looped into the entire controversy. What are your thoughts now? Are we going to see a better interagency relationship this time around. The police has spoken about its challenges, being terribly overburdened. They don't even have the necessary manpower. They don't even have the necessary resources in terms of the gadgets to aid their work. But, you know, looking at all of this myriad of challenges, are we going to see a better interagency partnership to curb this common enemy across all divides?
I thank you very much, Kemi. I think Ambassador Roy has alluded to something that the current administration is very serious. I mean, coming from the ministerial retreat and recent pronouncements by the President and Commander-in-Chief, for once we see somebody who is giving orders and challenging his ministers. It's either you do it or you don't do it. So first of all, I want to believe is that we expect all these ministers and ministries to begin to look at, especially those ones that have issues that deal with security, to have very, very inter-ministerial relationships. Because what you find, one, even within the defense and intelligence system, you still see these issues of rivalries and who wants to be on top of the other. And then those who want to get the trophy for being the ones that are winning, are helping to win. Until we begin to see our nation through the patriotic lens and understand that once we allow our system, our borders to be porous, for instance, and the custom decides to look away at some things, immigration, inflow of illegal immigrants, that all these things will eventually come in, and those who are giving passports to foreigners, who are giving national ID cards to foreigners, we've seen that a lot happening, and those who are giving NIN to foreigners.
Forms of identity.
So, you see, even the CDS had alluded that, look, national security is holistic, and it has its own sub-components. So it's not, there's nowhere the military, in the history of management of terrorism, that the military has single-handedly won the war. So it is always a combination of actions, intelligence, policing actors, and all these people, community policing, accepting the reality. You can even imagine, I came on set one of these days and to realize that the Firearms Act that should control, regulate the use of firearms in Nigeria is still existing, is as old as 1959. And then look at the changes in the global security environment. We are still using that same firearms of 1959 that came on before Nigeria's independence. Nobody's seen this as a priority to look at it. Management of proliferation of small arms are there, and so many other issues that can really sabotage all the efforts. And I'm so concerned because the president has gone around the whole world in maybe 90 days to seek for support, to seek for investment. Well, everything will come to naught if the security architecture is faulty and it's not able to protect foreigners, foreign investment, and all that. So there is also a need for all these people to come round the round tables and maybe change the style, the system of managing from the traditional ministry to, and then just make one system that will be headed by the commander-in-chief himself, so that he directs them and what to do, and every day, every week, the returns all go to him and they evaluate and then move on.
That discussion also include welfare of the officers.
Yeah, welfare is key because also I think I listened to that interaction very well. One of the services chiefs mentioned something about 1,500 being the ration cash allowance for military officers who have left their families and have deployed to, and they don't get that money regularly. Sometimes the reception is far between. And welfare is key. It's beyond just the cash aspect. Also how their families are being managed. And then if they should die, because it's a necessity that people must die in the course of prosecuting a war. And how do you look after their dependents and widows? And thankfully, we see a lot of efforts coming up. The First Lady has recently launched a fund to assist widows. But again, there's need to also monitor closely the implementation. We've never lacked policies. It's the implementation that always sinks most of our plans and programs. And then that's where that graft aspects, all those corruptive issues spring up. So if they can plug all those loopholes, I believe the government is trying for welfare of the military. I think coming from where I have been and seeing what is happening now, we're in a better place on welfare. But a lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely. Roy, what about the issue of, terrorism financing? That is also a thorny issue. And, so far, the present administration, through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, has said that it will not do so yet due to ongoing investigations. But in terms of human rights activists reacting to this stance of the government, they're saying that why shouldn't they name these individuals? How long can investigations continue for? There ought to be an end to investigations, just as is done in other countries. In the US, for example, these individuals are named, even individuals not Americans, Nigerians and all the like have been indicted at one time or the other. But where do you stand in this debate?
I would like to take it back to the time of Malami. And I was expecting that at his exit point from office, where his immunity expires, that he would have been invited. I really penciled down those matters because I've lost a lot of comrades. A lot of my classmates have died in the course of combating terrorism in Nigeria. And he mentioned that he has been given a list. Please, you can go and replay that. Malami said he has been given a list of persons and organizations existing in Nigeria that sponsor terrorism. That kind of statement is from the head of the judiciary, and this is many years away from that. And we have still not seen him point out, ask for arrest, or block the accounts of those people, or do anything to just make them visible for other agencies to be able to take action. And it's so disheartening that the same man was in office, vied for president, and left office, and is still enjoying his freedom today. I don't know what is holding us back. Your colleague in the state studio there said, political will. Now, but I insist to say that if you have political will and you don't have organizational structure, you don't have institutions that you can be sure to go to sleep with, you are not going to achieve anything. In Nigeria today, all of the institutions are 80% dirty. All. If you look at the recruitment system, if you look at the financial system, procurement system, in the military, you saw the general that was convicted recently for housing schemes. And that is a scheme that is supposed to put roof over the heads of vulnerable veterans that now live amongst the nook and cranny where these bandits kidnap them and their children. It doesn't come on the news. We know because in the retired members of Nigerian Armed Forces, as the National Secretary, we have assisted so many to pay ransom. And these things are not taken care of, political will or not. The way this government came into power, it should take up the hems of affairs and bulldoze this way to achieve results for peace and sanity in the country.
Okay, so Roy, this question I want to ask also goes to the retired our guest here. Will you welcome private sector involvement in this investigation?
The private sector investigation for, am I good to go?
Yes,
You are
yes.
talking
Private sector involvement. Okay. Will you welcome
the
that?
private sector involvement in the investigation of the CBN? You remember that the president engaged an individual and his team to do an audit of the central bank, and monies have started to be located, and monies have been coming back to the government coffers by those that siphon them out by that initiative. Now, if we want to look at the investigations going on right now, there are explicitly well-grounded and trained investigations in Nigeria, in the oil and gas, in the aviation, in the maritime, in physical security, in financial security, cyber security. You know, all of these grounds, we have Nigerians in the coffers of our own operationability that can look at this thing and pick out all the holes and identify the moles and pencil out all the criminal elements and the reasonable evidence that should take them to jail or whatever compromise and complicit penalties. But unfortunately, who will assign such responsibility? I was the outgoing national PRO of the Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners. Now, that association has interfaced with the former Minister of Interior numerous times, and we have put in lines of intervention by private sector security. Unfortunately, we have people like Tompolo, we have that is not registered with Ministry of Interior. We have people like some of them wielding weapons everywhere in Nigeria without a security license. So private security is not recognized.
All right, Ambassador Roy and retired Commodore Ayuba, will put you both on hold, take a break and return with more conversation. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast. We have been looking at how to enhance the war against terrorism with all hands being on board. This in the light of, rather weighty challenges and how best to surmount them. And over the past couple of minutes, more than 30 minutes, in fact, we've been speaking with retired Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, as well as Ambassador Roy Ohideve, who joins us from Texas. And of course, we also have here with us, Commodore Ayuba here in the studio. But let me come back to you, having listened to Roy speaking there about, the question on whether we should invite private investigators. Of course, we've always had them on ground, acting in one service or the other, but, having them, well on ground now and perhaps giving them more visibility, so to speak. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with it that there's need to increase participation of the private sector, because one, it takes away the pressure from day-to-day governance, and it makes sure that those who have expertise in specific aspects, because for instance, security and management of terrorism is diverse, but it has very many dimensions. So when you begin to bring in private people, either on a contract basis or you do collaborations, we are able to resolve the problem. You recall that also during the Jonathan administration, for instance, they had to bring private military contractors. And if you look at the Americans, they outsource most of their wars to private providers. There are a lot of retirees, police officers, military officers, customs. Even the customs itself should be privatized. To my mind, because most countries have privatized airport security, privatized customs, immigration. So you relieve the day-to-day government work to planning policy generation, and of course, for them to keep seeking for funds to drive this program. I totally support the idea that now areas that can be outsourced to private practitioners, proven and credible private practitioners should immediately go down to them. And of course, you are also helping to keep, especially if you take the case of veterans, you are helping to keep them out of trouble, because most of these veterans have very deadly skills that they could even be lured into working for criminal groups and terrorist groups if they are not debarred. You know, so issues are on dialogue, on debarment of many military officers by paying them some kind of grant and make them to sign off technically those skills and promise they will not use it against the state. Otherwise, if you are leaving them to suffer and wallow in pains, they are likely going to join, like the prison warders have reportedly been doing. They will likely join the terrorist group, because that takes me to the issue of killing the Boko Haram, what I call, in quote, Boko Haram economy. The economy of terrorism is beginning to be one thing that needs to be killed first before we can end the whole terrorism management in Nigeria.
Okay, so you have mentioned the areas in which even the U.S. government have privatized. Other economies have also privatized, giving licenses to people to get open private prisons. Do you think we can have that capacity here? Do you think this should happen? And if your response is in the affirmative, what should be the criteria?
Well, thank you, Theophilus. It has been mentioned on this program while we speak that the need for us to privatize all these actions is key. Then, of course, I think you mentioned something again which I couldn't pick quite well. Can you just come back to that?
About the criteria?
For selection, yes.
Giving licenses to
the CSE, every company must be, first of all, be registered in Nigeria. And then its directors must be known. They must have gone through profiling of security agencies. And they must be of proven track. If you give me a task to do as a retired maritime expert, for instance, I know where to source for the hands that can do, was the ones that can maintain vessels, the one that can drive the vessels. I don't know the ones that can do all sorts of things, that use guns effectively. So I won't have to go and start training people afresh, because a lot of them are discharging from the service. So I need to work only with the services. As they are leaving the place, I make my request. I get the right people, not the bad people. In fact, there are no bad soldiers. Like we say, there are only bad officers. So I know where to go.
What's the difference?
There are no bad soldiers. It's all about leadership.
Okay.
And where you have the right character and quality of leadership, then the followership will be compelled, just like a wagon, an engine of a train, driving its wagons. You are likely to go on a very good trip.
Right. Coming back to you now, Ambassador Roy, there is also a dimension to the war against terrorism, as revealed by this, service chiefs, who say that many of these terrorists plant themselves in areas where there are, regular residents, which, according to the CDS and his counterpart, makes the war, rather complex and, making it susceptible to, collateral casualties, so to speak. In curbing this, what would you suggest?
Okay, thank you. We have released the former Inspector General of Police is now the current Chairman of Police Service Commission. He wrote a book called titled The Community Policing, and I did another kind of training. I call that community resilience. You know, and we all know that for any terrorist group to penetrate a community and plan an attack and succeed and withdraw, it must have grown a cell in that area. You know, so most of the advisory I give is that landlords must know who they give their houses to, you know, and on accommodated buildings, abandoned buildings, all of those things must be in the scope of surveillance, you know, and persons that move around any premises or environment that cannot be connected to a residential family or people must also be profiled, you know, and we have what we call smart city system. There is a technology that you can deploy in a community, and it can identify faces, it can identify suspicious movements, it can identify sign languages, you know, and those technology can pick those things out and send them to the hub where it will be analyzed and intervention will take place immediately. Then if you look at also the escape routes, or we call it access points in every community, you know, before you penetrate a community, you must come in through the water, through the land, or through the air, you know, and everywhere we go, there's water. There must be fishermen community. There are farmers and hunters community on the land, you know, so we need to look at all of these building blocks and turn them into deterrence measures and make sure they are prone to identify suspicious movements, suspicious persons, suspicious gatherings, and intentions that will cause mayhem and anarchy in every community. So why can you achieve this? I told someone the other day, the disparity of our strategy and skills is different. Everywhere in Nigeria, we have military veterans that have retired and have gone into one trade or the other. We need to harmonize. We need to agree for intelligence gathering, intelligence open source, and intelligence dissemination to the right sources, and make sure that there is immediate intervention to dispel such attacks.
Well,
all right, gentlemen, a fine place to rest our conversations on this burning issue. Thank you very much, Royal Hideve, joining us from Texas. Many thanks for staying with us. And of course, retired Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, we thank you very much for your time with us.
Thank you for having me.